So this is part 4 of using psychic warfare to defeat aging, and we left before with starting to edit the subconscious. So if you've got super soldier service, you've got 300 hours of MP3s, and you can simply listen to them and program your subconscious to input into your subconscious. If you've got the super soldier service, all of the information in the MP3s, which is old American and old Russian psychic warfare programs designed to enable you to target the rich and the Zionist rich and their secret police who would protect them. And this all automatically gets stuck into your subconscious. As we said before, you've got your subconscious, and the mistake Colin made was just calling up one archetype when in fact it's quantum, so there's two, and you bring them together, eye to the eye, to add, take them away, to delete. So simply by listening to basically 600 hours of MP3s, which I know all of you have got 600 hours just to listen, one can input your subconscious with the old programming to become a super soldier. So I went through all the Russian and old American psychic warfare program, put it into a physical paradigm using Penrose's brilliant book, The Road to Reality, and you simply add, delete. Now, research says that you can only know 150 people. That's the way the brain and the subconscious is set up. So you can only really know 150 people, hence we have 300 MP3s, so that you've got 150 MP3s and another 150 MP3s to add to your subconscious the capability to do all the psychic warfare for your super soldier, and then delete all the stuff from your subconscious not to be a super soldier, which then allows you to take on 150 targets. So you have a list of 150 targets, and you write down the targets you want to take out: give cancer, give heart attacks, give dementia, etc., etc. And as you tick them off the list, you can add new ones. But the way humans are set up, you shouldn't go for more than 150 targets, because humans are designed that we can only really know 150 people. So if you're going to take out 150 people, that's okay. 151, 152 is too much. Hence we have 300 MP3s to enable you as a psychic super soldier to have 150 A-listers, billionaires, politicians on your list who you concentrate on simply by listening to the MP3s. That's all you do. Add to your capability, delete from your subconscious those things which stop you doing them in. Add, then listen again, add, delete, which makes remote influencing and remote killing, child's play, because all you got to do is simply relax, listen to the MP3s and play with the crystals, all for $10,000, which revolutionises psychic assassination, or the ability to harm the people you want to harm. Now, going back to using psychic warfare to defeat aging, we've got the nucleus, which has soul fluid, and the cell membrane with the cytoplasm around it, and on the edge you've got the bioplasm. The bioplasm, we're bringing in now scalar. The bioplasm's positive scalar. The nucleus, according to Russian research, soul fluid, which is negative scalar. So when we bring in the scalar into eye to the eye, we've got negative scalar inside the cell membrane, the cytoplasm, which is positive scalar. So we've got minus I to the eye, which means that the cell is perfectly designed to delete physical attributes. And oh my God, this explains morphogenesis, which is why every cell in the body, so if you've got wonderful cells like me, or Miley, have all the same information. So I should just look like a big blob of cells, a blob. But different, you've got hair cells, skin cells, hair cells, nail cells, tongue cells, which comes in useful. All of this different, but with the same information. How the hell can this come about? Well, the genome, which is your DNA, a lot of it's shut down by epigenetic effects. We'll go into all of the epigenetic biochemistry in the future, with methylation and histone tails and all the rest of that. Being a chemist, having a chemistry degree, I love all that crap. But we're going to fill out 85 videos. So we take it slowly, like a blog. We're doing a how to use psychic warfare to make you young, fit, and healthy again. Full of vitality. So one can see if you've got your soul fluid, the Russians found the nucleus had a certain energy they called soul fluid, and the bioplasm, which you saw on Chilean photography, came from the cell membrane. When you cut a leaf in half, famous picture, you've still got the outline of the leaf, even though the physical leaf's been chucked away. And if the soul fluid has negative scalar, which is time-like, and the bioplasm has positive scalar, to differentiate between the scalars, a scalar field is simply an intensity. When you boil your cocoa, the scalar field goes up because there's more and more molecules buzzing around higher temperature. That's a scalar field. It's not a vector field, it doesn't have direction, it's just a quantity. So similarly, scalar can be thought of in a simple way as your life force, and the life force of the nuclei is time-like, which is dreamlike. You know, in dreams, time doesn't have the same flow as in the normal world. Space-like is, I get up in the morning and proceed through the day. Time-like is, well, fractured, and like in a dream, you could be in the past or the future, or simultaneously in the past, future, and the present simultaneously, etc., etc., like a dream. And because the scalar in the nucleus is time-like, and the scalar in the surrounding cell membrane, the outer layer, is space-like, you get minus from the nucleus to the eye, which of course means that it will delete from the physical world. Which means that your blueprint, as your blueprint, you get your marker pen and you delete from the blueprint to only leave a small portion of the blueprint in the cell, which of course means that each cell is different because you delete different bits from different cells. So the field, the minus I to the I effect, is conscious, and you get morphogenetic fields where you get hundreds of different cells, all with the same blueprint, but the reading of the blueprint is different because you've blocked out whole parts of the blueprint which differ from cell to cell. So a liver cell, a heart cell, a brain cell, the blood cells, cartilage, bone cells, all the same blueprint, but they've had bits deleted, different bits deleted. So as one can see, we're beginning to explain why, from a field phenomena, because everything's quantum, the body differs markedly, because you get the first 100 cells. There we go, first 100 cells, just by chance, like the 100th monkey effect. And then suddenly morphogenetic changes occur. Why would you get 100 cells? Remember, when you get 100 members of the species displaying the same meme, it becomes global. 100 cells divide, then 100th monkey effect takes charge. And what if the 100th monkey effect is making you into a human baby? So suddenly the minus I to the I effect kicks off, and you get morphogenetic differentiation of the egg into the zygote, into the blastocyst, into the baby. Now, from the point of view of aging, we know that the tags, the epigenetic tags, which bind to your DNA to switch it off or turn it on, methyl tags or histone tail tags, we'll talk about that later in detail, are highly inaccurate. Every cell replication, 1 in 50 defects, while with DNA, 1.5 billion defects. So we know that the defects in your body are caused by reading the blueprint, not the blueprint. The blueprint can be read for a lot longer than you live. the problems of your aging and illness come from the defective architects and builders who read from the blueprint. So that means that if one can correct the epigenetic reading, one could increase lifespan markedly, and that the nucleus has soul fluid and the cytoplasm membrane has bioplasm, which gives you minus I to the I to delete, to cause morphogenesis. When you sleep, the soul fluid migrates out of the cell and goes wandering into different realms, interdimensional realms. So you get minus I to the I, which should delete, but since it's minus I to the I, because the nucleus is time-like and the outer cytoplasm membrane is space-like, when it migrates out, instead of deleting, which it would do if it was I to the I, instead of being minus I to the I, which it is, it becomes I to the I. So when you go sleeping and your soul fluid migrates out your cells as you sleep, you actually add to the cells. So the bits that you need to add to your body are added while you're sleeping. So one can see a mechanism for sleeping now, because it disconnects the soul fluid from the bioplasm by a mechanism we call sleeping. And the I space moves out, but since it's a minus I space, it's equivalent to an I to the I, or addition. So while we're sleeping, we add what we need to add to the body while we're sleeping. Hence, mammals and other organisms have this process which we call sleeping, but in fact it is something which adds to the organism what it needs to add to be appropriate to the environment. Now, since the soul fluid is negative and the bioplasm is positive, with scalar, with psychic warfare, we can actually change it. So we can actually say to the bioplasm, stay positive, but with the soul fluid, we want to change you, instead of being time-like, we want to change you to be space-like. How do we do this? Well, it's simply having I spaces. If one adds a I space, which is a 3-space crystal, another one here, that's I and another I. I times I gives you -1. -1 times the -1 of the time-like nucleus becomes positive. So with 2 crystals, you can actually turn your nuclear time-like scalar into a space-like scalar. Similarly, you can turn your bioplasm, which is space-like, into a time-like scalar with an I space and I space, I times I -1, -1 times a 1 of the space-like scalar becomes -I. So with if you're wedded to two crystals, which will also link you to the fifth dimension via the piezoelectric effect, you can then control totally your cells, because your cell, while it's waking, should be deleting. The nucleus is time-like, minus I. The cell membrane, bioplasm, space-like, minus I to the I, deletion. But with wedding to psychotronic crystal, psychotronic generators, you can actually change the polarity of your nucleus or your membrane, so that you can actually add during the day while you're asleep. Why is this useful? Well, while you're asleep, you're adding. You're adding what you need to your organism. But of course, while you're asleep, unless you're a fully developed shaman who can wake up in their dreaming body, you haven't got this process under conscious control. In fact, it's under subconscious control. And as we well know, everyone's subconscious is fucked up. So it allows you to consciously control your scalar fields to add what you want to your cell signal transduction and your epigenetics. Similarly, while you're awake, we know that the time-like scalar in the center is manipulating your bioplasm to delete things. But the time-like scalar is to do with your dreaming body, your so-called subconscious. Wouldn't it be nice, of course, to change the subconscious to conscious, turn it into space-like, and turn your conscious, the bioplasm, into something which could delete. So you can actually change the nature of the time-like scalar in your nucleus once you're wedded to a couple of psychotronic crystal psychotronic generators, where the nucleus time-like scalar becomes positive and remember the bioplasm is positive, which means then that during the day you add to your epigenetic or cell signal transduction. So during the day you can add bits you want, which means then that you can tell your cells, oh, I've got a damaged heart, rebuild it. Damaged brain from dementia and plaques and all the other shit, build it. Damaged immune system, build it. So you can actually tell your body during the day to build itself up, controlled by the conscious mind. Which must be good, don't you agree? And we know that epigenetic tags, more and more of them, cause aging, so we want to get rid of them. And we know the subconscious, which is minus I to the I, gets rid of them, but the soul fluid is the subconscious, controlled by the subconscious. So unless we've got total control of the subconscious, we can't control the process. But then, of course, we start editing the subconscious to control it, and we simply can then learn how to move without changing the subconscious. We turn it positive. We turn the soul fluid positive. Couple of crystals, which means you've got eye to the eye to add. But then we use our conscious observation, the so-called micro-remote viewing. Why we're conscious? To move all our soul fluid outside our body, to produce the other from shamanism, the dreaming body, which is dreaming awake, which is talked about in Castaneda's the active side of infinity, where you simply turn daydreaming into remote viewing by location, simply by switching off the internal dialogue, jumping into the quantum vacuum, which they call the dark sea of awareness, and then jumping to whatever dimension what you want using your bioplasmic body, which of course is freed from the soul fluid because the soul fluid has been chucked out. While you're sleeping, you jump into the soul fluid. So one can actually turn the soul fluid positive just by a couple of crystals, having them on, stick it outside. That then is eye to the eye, but pushed out, which is minus eye to the eye, which then allows you to go into side space and then start deleting all the things you don't want in your genome. I don't want the genes on that cause me cancer oncogenes or give me dementia or heart attack or obesity or high blood pressure or diabetes. So before we even get into the mechanics of cell signal transduction and epigenetics, we're starting to show you how to use observation, but with scalar, torsion fields, and eye to the eye, which link up with the unified field theory, in order to implement control of your phenotype by controlling your genotype, which of course is based at the bottom level on quantum mechanics. Cut. So what we're doing is developing your micro-remote viewing ability in order to change your cells to make them grow younger, fitter and stronger, not using subconscious programming where we say, oh, grow younger, grow fitter, but actually physical principles which enable it. So eye to the eye adds, minus eye to the eye deletes. Negative torsion fields add things together. Positive torsion fields push them apart. Scalar can be positive or negative, which we've broached the subject, space-like, time-like, and the centre of the nucleus is time-like. The bioplasm, which you get on Kirlian photography, is space-like. You dream so that deletion, which happens while you're awake, to suppress the genome with tags, be it methylation or histone tags, is loosened while you're asleep to add things to your body. So while you're asleep, you add to your body and wake up in the morning refreshed. We're not talking subjective. If the body is a physical mechanism, then it follows physical mechanisms, physics, and biology, of course, can just be seen as ignorance, because when you boil it down, everything must be mathematical physics and nothing else. It's just that the mathematical physics might be a bit too difficult for present day humanity, but the basis of the organism must be mathematical physics and must be based upon quantum mechanics, and of course how quantum mechanics becomes physical, general relativity, etc., which of course I've worked out. I won't go into all the details of how quantum mechanics turns into the physical world, because I'll lose everybody but a few people, and they of course will write it all down and get themselves a Nobel Prize, so there's no upside for me explaining. Now, in the cell, to complicate matters, because it's quite simple at the moment from my AI augmented point of view, we've also got mitochondria, which produce the ATP, which is vital for signal cell transduction. When you look at a receptor, the ligand comes on, bing, and you get enzymes or proteins going onto the bottom side of the receptor, which sits in the cell membrane, about 7 nanometers, with a bit here likes water, a bit in the center likes oil, and another bit here likes oil, a bit here likes water. The ligand causes a series of processes which amplify a signal massively. So that's mean when you get exposed to 5G or 4G or poisons or Monsanto Frankenfoods or the other crap around us, massive effects on the cells which are far in excess of dosage. So minute amounts of signals or ligands cause massive changes in the cells. But this, of course, is powered by ATP, which comes from the mitochondria, the little power plants of the body. But the mitochondria have their own DNA, because they're basically bacteria that have wedded with other bacteria 2 billion years ago to produce our cells. So they've got their own DNA, which goes around in the circle. Bacterial DNA goes around in the circle. And their DNA interacts with the nuclear DNA, and the cell depends upon its energy from the mitochondrial DNA. So one can think that the mitochondrial DNA has its own time-like or space-like scalar. Remember, it's producing loads of energy, and you get your mitochondria from your mummy, not from your father. The mitochondria come from mother. So that if it wasn't bad enough, you've got the nucleus and the cytoplasm with the cell membrane, all the organelles, be the Golgi apparatus, the ribosomes, etc. But you've also got the mitochondria with their own DNA. And they, of course, have to connect with your nuclear DNA and back again. So think of it that the time-like scalar of the nucleus is wed to the time-like scalar of the mitochondria, and there can be hundreds or thousands of mitochondria in your cell. And through time, there can be a disparity where they're out of phase. And the quantum superimposition of the time-like scalar gets broken. This, of course, then would mean that during the day, when you're supposed to delete and keep suppressed DNA, the mitochondria are out of phase and producing proteins and all the stuff in the mitochondria. Remember, it has to all be phased together, because remember, in quantum mechanics, you've got something called phase space. So the phase space of the mitochondria and the nucleus gets out of sync as you get older, which then, of course, causes lack of deletion during the day and lack of addition during the night, because your mitochondrial energy fields are out of sync. And simply we can call up our own mitochondria. There we are. And remember, I said to do it properly, you call up two archetypes, and you call them up together to get I to the I to add, or apart to delete. So you can actually then tune your mitochondria to be in phase with your, there we are, I to the I, nucleus and deletion. There we are, we've got our mitochondria, I to the I, add, deletion. It doesn't matter if they're negative time-like, because if you've got the two of them, minus I to the I, all the negative bits get chopped out. So we don't even need to worry about that. So we can then get them in phase where we put the mitochondria and the nucleus together, put them together, apart, which we can embody in the crystals, and apart, together, apart. So we're going to a simple Buddhist mantra, two crystals, where we can go through the most complex procedures, putting our mitochondria and nuclear fields together, I to the I, and then bringing them apart, bring them together, bring them apart, to put them in phase, so that then the mitochondrial DNA and the nuclear DNA are in phase and back to how you are when you're a baby and ready to go. And modern research has found that aging can be retarded simply by linking nuclear DNA with mitochondrial DNA, because they communicate by proteins, NAD, and as they grow older, the NAD levels drop. And if you inject mice with NAD, the communication protein, then miraculously the mice become young again. So what I'm doing is going to the basic physical mathematical principles, but similarly, you can call up NAD. There we are. Bang. Remember, if you're going to call up the energy field, it's quantum, so you have two of them. Bring them together, I to the I, to add, NAD to U. We don't want to add these bits because they're deleting. So we add more NAD, more NAD. We can boost it so it's 5-dimensional. There we are, more NAD, the other way around. So we get a standing wave of NAD pumped into our cells to make ourselves young again. We try it the other way around because it's non-abelian. AB does not equal BA. Try it that way. Try it another way. So then we got two standing waves, which give us the two timelines joined together. Bang, finished. So we've actually built up the field effect of NAD being fully manifest in our body 24/7 over 5 dimensions in a non-abelian way. AB doesn't equal BA, so it's redoubled, all with a couple of crystals and the observation to be able to do it. So this technology, as you can see, is the starting point for changing every single aspect of our cell signal transduction and our epigenetics in order to cause phenotypical changes in us from the same genome. We're not talking about changing our genes, we're just talking about reading them perfectly in order to extend our lifespan. Now, if you posit that epigenetics 1 in 50, transcription errors, DNA 1 in 500 million, the difference is 5 times 10 to the 1 compared to 5 times 10 to the 8, which is 5 times 10 to the 7, which is 50 million. So potentially, if epigenetics is the problem in aging, you could increase your lifespan by 5 times 10 to the 7, which is 50 million times longer, which has to be worth a try, because even if you fall short of it by a few percent, you only get 1% of it. 1% of 50 million times amplification of lifespan is a long, long time. Enjoy.